Hi everybody, welcome to my channel. Today I'm going to look at three things. First, I'm going to teach you how to pronounce hermeneutics. Secondly, I'm going to expound on what hermeneutics is. And finally, I am going to show you how applying one principle of biblical hermeneutics could prevent misinterpreting the scriptures. So let's jump right into it. I have my coffee, computer is here, so let's go. I am Leroy Daley of Blogging About the Word. On that website and on this YouTube channel, I teach Christians how to better understand their Bibles. I utilize scriptures to explicate other relevant scriptures, because word must be on word, precept on precept, line upon line, here a little, there a little, or else we will have confusion and misunderstanding in the church. First, how to pronounce hermeneutics. It's her-me-nu-tics. That's one pronunciation. There are two pronunciations. The other one is hur-muh-noo-tiks. 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 And her-me-nu-tics. So it's two. It's either hermeneutics or hur-muh-noo-tics. Your choice. You choose the one that you're comfortable with. Now, I also have another question for you. Is it what hermeneutics is one of those nouns which usually takes the plural form, like civics or scissors? They're always in the plural form, but depending on how you use it, it could either be plural or singular. Yes, this video is turning out to be quite an English class. Let's continue. So let's define hermeneutics. It is both the science and the heart of interpreting written communication, but especially the Bible. And that's where we are. That is the book we are concerned with. That's where we are looking at that. So that is hermeneutics. So it really is, hermeneutics really is the study of interpretation. So we are dealing with interpreting the Bible. Okay, let's continue. So the next thing I want to do now is to show you how to apply at least this one principle of hermeneutics, which will aid in preventing misinterpreting the scripture. In biblical times, the Jews used the principle of two witnesses to set free or imprison a person in a murder trial. And now you'll see the relevance of this as I continue. So let's read from the scripture, and I'm going to read Deuteronomy 7 verse 6. At the mouth of two witnesses or three witnesses shall he that is worthy of death be put to death. But at the mouth of one witness he shall not be put to death. Deuteronomy 17 verse 6. However, they also employ this same principle to settle disputes among themselves. And I'm going to read another scripture, mainly Deuteronomy 19 verse 15. One witness shall not rise up against a man for any iniquity or for any sin. In any sin that he sinneth, at the mouth of two witnesses or at the mouth of three witnesses shall the matter be established. So here again, they are using this principle to resolve dispute among the Jewish people. Principle of two witnesses. So if a person was killed or murdered and one person came forward and said, I saw Mary doing this, that wouldn't be accepted. They wanted at least two people to agree and said, okay, we, two of us saw him doing that murder. They would accept that as true testimony. As we go on, you will see the relevance of this. Nevertheless, this notion of two witness can be used, it can be extended to the interpretation of scriptures. And I'll show you just now. Jesus Christ and his 12 leaders utilized this hermeneutic principle of two witness to explain parts of the scripture. Even Apostle Paul did it numerous times. They used this principle to explain parts of the scripture. Listen as Jesus used this principle to explain the meaning of a portion of scripture. And let's read St. John 8 verse 12 to 20. Jesus had just finished a discussion with the Jews concerning the woman that was taken in adultery. This is immediately after that. Jesus declared that he is the light of the world, and the benefits of people, following him. And the Jews look at him and said, oh, what you're saying is not true because you're all by yourself. This is a response to that. So St. John 8 verse 12 to 20. Then Jesus spake again unto them, saying, I am the light of the world. He that followeth me shall not walk in darkness, but shall have the light of life. The Pharisees said unto him, Thou bearest record of thyself. Thy record is not true. Jesus answered and said unto them, Though I bear record of myself, yet my record is true, for I know whence I came and whither I go, but ye cannot tell when I come and where I go. Ye judge after the flesh. I judge no man. And yet if I judge, my judgment is true. For I am not alone, but I and the Father that sent me. It is also written in your law that the testimony of two men is true. I am one that bear witness of myself, and the Father that sent me bear witness of me. Then said they unto him, Where is thy Father? Jesus answered, Ye neither know me nor my Father, for if ye have known me, you should have known my Father also. These words spake Jesus in the treasury as he taught in the temple, and no man laid hands on him, for his hour was not yet come. All right. So we note here that they weren't accepting Jesus' statement that he's the light of the world. But look at what they said. They said they weren't accepting it because it was what Jesus was saying in their eyes wasn't conforming to scriptures, because he was by himself and he was giving a record and they weren't accepting that record. So they said, Thou bearest record of thyself, meaning you're alone. Who is corroborating your story? Thy record is not true, because he's alone, his record is not true. But listen how Jesus set them up right here. He says, I said unto you, though I bear record of myself, yet my record is true. Now he's going to give the reason. For I know whence I came and whither I go, but you cannot tell where I come and where I go. You judge after the flesh, I judge no man. And yet if I judge, my judgment is true, for I am not alone, but I and my Father that sent me. So right there, Jesus told them that I am not alone. I have somebody to back up my story. It is also written in your law that the testimony of two men is true. This is important right here. Jesus said to them, it is written. That means there appear at least one reference in the Old Testament about this, that the testimony of two men is true. And we read that in Deuteronomy about the two witnesses. That is exactly what Jesus is talking about there. So he was saying, oh, you think I am alone, but I am not alone. So you need to accept what I'm saying based on your own customs and laws and tradition, because I and my Father that sent me. So in the Bible, when we see it is written, that means it appears in the Old Testament. If it is not written, don't accept it, don't believe it, don't preach it, don't teach it. So there must be at least two instances in the Bible of anything that we believe, accept, or teach as doctrine. If it is not written, and this is the first hermeneutic principle, if it's not written, don't accept it. So applying this principle of two witnesses prevent misinterpreting the scripture. Let me show you how. In 1 Samuel 28, 1-20, and I won't read that, you could read it for yourself. To bring us on the same page somewhat, let me summarize what happened in that situation. King Saul wasn't hearing from God. His mentor, Samuel, was dead. Now he had problems with the Philistines. They were overrunning Israel. And as a leader and a warrior, he didn't know where to turn, what to do, because Samuel was dead and buried. So he said to his subjects, find me a witch. I need to communicate with Samuel. They found a woman, a witch of Endor. And Saul disguised himself by putting on other clothes, reduced his entourage to 2 people, and they went to see the witch. He asked the witch to call up Samuel. She called him up, and Saul spoke with Samuel. He asked him, then we're going to read what Samuel said to Saul. And this is found in 1 Samuel 28, verse 19. Samuel speaking now. Moreover, the Lord will also deliver Israel with thee into the hand of the Philistines. And tomorrow shall thou and thy sons be with me. And the Lord also shall deliver the host of Israel into the hands of the Philistines. End of quote. So Samuel spoke 2 things in this scripture. One, he said that the king and the nation of Israel will be given into the hands of the Philistines. And 2, the king and his son would be dead by tomorrow. So he said, and tomorrow shall thou and thy sons be with me. Now, I have heard people use this scripture to teach that if you commit suicide, you will go to heaven because of what Samuel said there. No, I cannot really see the connection. But when I was amazed, and the reason why we can't teach that is because this scripture here appears only once in the Bible. There is no second witness. There is no second witness. Now, if some of these Bible teachers would utilize the principle of 2 witnesses, this wouldn't happen. Because where was Samuel in this scripture? Samuel was dead and buried. He was in the ground. The scripture never said anything about Samuel being in heaven. In the religious community, they always say that to interpret the Bible, context is very important. And I don't dispute that at all. But sometimes context is not the most important criterion. Because in this sense, while knowing the correct context of the scripture that was used is crucial to ascertaining the correct meaning, yet in it is not the most important hermeneutical principle always, because even when we comprehend the context of a situation like we did now, if there is only one reference of it in the Bible, we should never accept or believe it. So don't accept scriptures like this, which tells you that, oh, if you commit suicide, you'll go to heaven. Nonsense. I want to bring us to another situation too, another example. And this one concerns the temptation of Jesus. And we find this in 3 places in the Bible: Matthew, Mark, and Luke. Let me bring up Bible Gateway. And this is found in Matthew 4, verse 1 to 2. And I'm going to read. This is after the baptism of Jesus now. Then was Jesus led of the Spirit into the wilderness to be tempted of the devil. And when he had fasted 40 days and 40 nights, he was afterwards an hungered. Now, as I said, 3 apostles wrote about this. Matthew 4, 1 to 2, Mark 1, verse 12 to 13, and Luke 4, 1 to 2. Those are your scriptures. Many Christians violate the principle of 2 witness when they say that this was a partial fast of Jesus Christ. That's what they say. And the reason they say this, the Bible declares that after 40 days and 40 nights of fasting, of course, Jesus was hungry. He didn't eat anything. But he was not thirsty, because the Bible didn't say he was thirsty. Therefore, he must have drunk some fluid. That is their reasoning. Now, there's a number of things wrong with this. First, never make any assumptions about the Bible. Assume nothing. If it doesn't say it explicitly and outrightly, leave it alone. Second, we need to perceive the context of this situation, the temptation of Jesus Christ. The Jews then and now never practice partial fasting. What this means is that they never ate while they fasted, and they never drank while they fasted. It was a total abstinence fast for them in every situation in the Bible. Let nobody tell you otherwise. There is not one instance in the scripture where anybody fasted, and while they were fasting, they ate or they drank something. None. As a result, Jesus wouldn't have ate anything or drank anything while he was fasting. So for them to say, oh, he didn't eat but he drank, it's not in context with what happened in that community, even now. Third, recall where Jesus conducted this fast. In the wilderness. That is, in the desert. And remember, so there's no water there. There's no water in the desert. And remember, he made no prior preparation before his fast, because he was driven by his Spirit, meaning it happened just like that. And just move with it. He didn't prepare before. So he didn't carry any food and he didn't carry any water with him into the desert, because he was driven after his baptism into the wilderness to fast. So there was no prior preparation for him to bring either food or drink or even both. So that's it. Finally, the Bible teachers who teach this, that when Jesus fasted in the wilderness for 40 days and 40 nights, he was doing a partial fast, they go astray. They are wrong. If they employ the Bible's own built-in principle of hermeneutics, mainly the principle of 2 witnesses, they wouldn't teach this, because it's never written any other place in the Holy Scripture that Jesus did this. It's not there. Now, And I told you that 3 apostles wrote about this: Matthew, Mark, and Luke. But they all say the same thing, more or less. They say identical things about the temptation of Jesus Christ. None of them included any new information. So we could say, all right, this person modified or had something here to the temptation recording. None of them said anything new about the temptation. So all those 3 narrations are one. They are one record because they say the identical thing. So we don't have a second witness. We don't have a second witness in the Bible anywhere at all. Recall I told you that if it is not written at least 2 places in the Bible, reject it. Reject this idea that Jesus partial fasted. Reject the teaching that he didn't eat but he drank some fluid. Reject it utterly. This doctrine is a doctrine of men, for it's not in the Bible. Let me wrap this up because I didn't want it to be too long. Today we learned that the noun hermeneutics actually takes the plural form, but depending on its usage, it could either be singular or plural. Then we also look at the definition for hermeneutics. We say it's the arts and science of interpreting any written document, but especially the Bible. Thus, the goal of it is to arrive at one correct meaning. Finally, one of the Bible's own built-in principle of hermeneutics is the principle of 2 witness. In other words, it is written. If the Bible doesn't supply 2 identical references in context and meaning of any idea, thought, or doctrine, reject it. It must be written for you to accept it and believe it. And then now, what next? If you want to see more videos like this one, like this video and smash the bell icon to turn on all notifications. If you are new to this channel, please subscribe. I invite you to subscribe. I bless you in the name of the Lord. The blessings of the Lord be on you. Peace. I see you in another video.